Hello, 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 and welcome to a brand new Movies and Me Extra. Man, I've been enjoying doing this to be able to talk about movies that are in the theater as well as things that are our favorite. Today we've got one and the same. Host of the DVD Bunker, Mr. Brian Hurst, and the fan friction champion, at least until I get to fight him, is joining me to talk Alien Covenant. Brian, how you doing, my man?
Great, great, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm glad we could finally get together. And always a pleasure to talk Alien any chance I get.
Yeah, so Alien Covenant, I think when it got announced, a lot of the Alien fandom was very excited, yourself included. But there was a few naysayers who weren't that impressed with Prometheus, who went into this movie, I'd say, with mixed expectations. And having never seen Prometheus until the day I saw Alien Covenant, I went in pretty excited. So, what were your initial reactions with this movie?
Obviously, yeah, super excited. I'm what I would call probably a Prometheus apologist. It's not a perfect film, obviously, but I think there's really great world building in it. There's really interesting ideas in it, and man, does Ridley Scott just make a beautiful film, you know? And so I went in fully expecting. I was like, hey, Ridley Scott is a master craftsman. At bare minimum, the movie's going to look excellent. It's going to have good performances. I love the cast and everything. So I went in pretty, but I'm also, it's one of those things where I know where I'm at with this franchise. I can't be objective. I'm just happy there's a new Alien movie for me to go see. So just that going into it, I have to know that about myself, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I completely agree there because a lot of the problems people had with Prometheus is there wasn't enough alien in it. People didn't really. This movie didn't really know whether it wanted to be like an alien prequel or just a spin off set in the alien universe. And it is kind of confusing, but Alien Covenant, I think, is the movie a lot of people wanted Prometheus to be.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think the thing with Prometheus is they started writing an Alien prequel, and then they got Ridley Scott, and I think it's Damien Lindelof, got really into the ideas of the world and kind of forgot about the Alien prequel part, and kind of started making a separate movie. And so there's these little kind of remnants of an Alien prequel in there, just enough to tease you to make you want it to be an Alien prequel when it's not. And I mean, it is, but you know what I'm saying. It's really more of a side cool. It's like a world movie. It's like the Fantastic Beasts of Alien. It's just existing in that universe now. It's Rogue One.
Oh.
But definitely Alien Covenant. I've been describing it. I would say it's 2/3 of an Alien movie and 1/3 Prometheus. That middle act, Act 2 of Covenant is all Prometheus, which is fine. I have no problem with that. I wish it blended a little bit more seamlessly because I really felt we're in the Prometheus part of the movie now. The first part's the alien part, the second part's the Prometheus part, and the third part is the aliens part. The kind of action-y, third act. So.
Yeah, and just before we get into spoilers, I'll give you my sort of reaction to it. I went into this movie expecting to walk out the same way I walked out of Rogue One, where I was kind of underwhelmed, but because of that, I ended up enjoying this movie a lot. And I don't know what it is with 2017, but I've been appearing to enjoy movies a lot more than 2016.
Bottom out your expectations, and now you can only go up. You're well, it's got to be better than that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we might as well head into spoilers now. I think the best part about this sort of Prometheus, Covenant, new alien universe that they're building, Michael Fassbender as David is one of the most complex characters I've ever seen in a sci-fi horror movie.
Right? What an incredible movie villain. I'm not 100% sold on the idea of the xenomorph, the iconic xenomorph, having been engineered rather than just, it's it kind of makes the whole thing weird in a full circle, kind of, because the whole idea is that the humans always wanted to take it to make it a weapon, and turns out it's always been a weapon. I kind of like the idea that it was just the species that existed, but that's me bringing my shit to Covenant. That's not letting Covenant be its own movie and be the Prometheus sequel and everything. And that's where fandom ruined. That's why people can't get over things when they watch movies. It's you have to stop basing a movie on what you want it to be. That's Ridley Scott's movie. That's his world that he's creating, and you have to just let him do it. And it's like when you take that away and you take away your expectations and you just look at what he did, it's really great. You know what I mean? It's a really smart idea and it's really interesting. And like the idea that David was so badly parented and grew to hate humanity, and then like his whole existence was to find his creator's creator, and that was just another man. His hate and how he now wants to become the ultimate creator. Like you said, so complex. Such an interesting character. I didn't mean to hijack your show. I just can't shut up about him.
That's okay. That's why I had you as a guest, buddy. I mean, could you imagine David and Ellen Ripley in a scene together?
Yeah. Oh, come on. The Iron Wills. Now, how did you feel about this movie's Ripley? Every movie has a Ripley, How did you feel about this one?
Honestly, I thought she was just fine. Like, she did the role well, but she didn't, blow my mind or anything. I was more invested whenever I saw Michael Fassbender interacting with himself as both David and as Walter, and I was more invested in that.
The way you could tell Walter was a totally separate character. A really good job on differentiating the way he talked and moved and reacted, and you know what I mean. That was good. I like that a lot. Who stole the movie though? We all know the answer.
David.
Oh, you still? I gotta go. Okay, but come on, Tennessee, Danny McBride.
Yes, I will give you that.
Incredible performance. Just like I think everybody, when they heard that casting, was kind of like, what? But I love that they give, I love the idea of giving an actor a chance to do something different. I am of the personal opinion that it's actually harder to do comedy, and that's why comedians make the transition to drama better than the other way around. So I thought he was really great. And, 100% though, you nailed it. Michael Fassbender's performance, this is his movie, so I'm saying, when I say steal, I mean, he already owned it. Danny McBride takes a little piece, and those are my top two performances.
I'll give you that. And the one part that I found kind of funny in sort of a scary way, but it worked with David's character. Even Michael Fassbender wants to make out with Michael Fassbender.
Oh, it reminded me so much of, I'm obviously diehard fan of this franchise, and if you know anything about it, after Aliens was this huge success, Sigourney Weaver became a producer. She produced on Aliens, but she took over and was the executive producer. And she had these certain things she wanted to get into the sequels, and part of them, she wanted to die and she wanted to have sex with an alien. And she did both of those things.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
In Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection, those scenes. I mean, it's obviously not as graphic as all that, but there's implication is in Alien Resurrection when she clone Ripley kind of is engulfed by this sea of aliens. But she put that stuff in there. She wanted it. She took control, and that's why not only am I impressed with Ellen Ripley as a character, but Sigourney Weaver as a woman in Hollywood who took control of a big budget franchise like that at that time. I mean, that's so impressive to me. When you think about how hard women still fight in this industry, to have the idea of her doing that sort of stuff in the early to mid 90s is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And another thing I wanted to mention here, which it does connect to the characters of the movie, and it's where a lot of people are kind of divided. I feel like for this kind of movie to work, you need to be invested in the characters, and to a degree, I was, but there was only a couple of them that really stood out to me, whereas the rest of them, I thought they were fine. These people are just here to be killed by xenomorphs.
Yeah, and that's always the thing in an Alien movie where the cast gets over about 7 people, because that's pretty much your main cast is always going to be 5 to 7 main players, and anything outside of that is basically fodder. Did you watch the prologue videos going into Covenant?
I didn't.
They released online?
I did not see those because I wanted to go in blind.
Okay. If people out there, I guess you're not listening to this because we're well into spoilers now, but I guess my suggestion would have been the one Last Supper, to watch that before you go see the movie, because it's basically just the Covenant crew hanging out before they go into hypersleep. And I think I agree, it should have been a scene in the movie. It wasn't very long. It would have added maybe 4 minutes, and it would have given a little of that character development. I think we could have used. Um, but also, and then there's one called The Crossing, and that has a little bit of, that's more about David and Dr. Shaw, like leaving the planet and her repairing him and their relationship. And I also think, I understand why it was cut for time and everything, but once you've seen the movie and you know everything, I would have suggested that one. So I would do, if you, like I said, everybody who's listening to this has probably seen Covenant, but if you haven't, I would have said do one before, one after.
Yeah, I agree with that. And see, when this movie comes out on Blu-ray, I guarantee that's probably going to be in the Blu-ray. Like, it'll be either added in as a scene. One thing that really surprised me is, like, we know the Xenomorph is a really scary monster, but I found the Neomorph, which is, like, it's sort of like a Xenomorph, but it looks more like a fetus, and it's, like, all white and everything. I found that thing terrifying, and even more scary than the Xenomorph at some points, because it has this weird mixture of it looks kind of peaceful, but if you piss it off, you are fucked.
Yeah, and I like that we got to see it do attacking when it was small. Still, like, one of the things I talked about when we did AVP Requiem on the bunkers, that I've never seen a chest burster attack. It always just comes out, runs and hides until it gets big. I wanted to see somebody have to struggle with a chest burster, and this was kind of like that. You know, the Neomorph came out small and it was right to attacking. It didn't run away and hide. It got to work, and then it got bigger and continued to work.
Okay, yeah. I mean, like, I believe the toddler one, like, it's scarier because it kind of doesn't know what it's doing, and it's just kind of like attacking them like randomly. And the first scene where you see, like, this guy's, like, he's breathed in spores, I think they are, and then the Neomorph hatches from him. That straight up reminded me of Ridley Scott's Alien with the chestburster scene, but it was far more graphic, and I've never really seen that done in an Alien movie to this extent.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think that's another thing that Ridley Scott did when he was like, okay, we're really going to get into making this like an Alien movie. So he put in things where he upped the ante, like stuff he probably, when they were doing Kane's, birth in the first one, he probably had some ideas he couldn't do, or at least once he did it, he thought of some things. He's like, oh, next time, if I ever get a chance to come back, and now he can do those. And yeah, like, he did some really cool, creative, gross, violent kind of like births of these Neomorphs for sure. I did want to ask you now, how do you feel about like the kind of genesis? Like I touched on it a little bit earlier, like the fact that David is kind of the engineer of what we would call the classic Xenomorph, that he kind of genetically engineered through experimentation on the Neomorphs and the different kind of species on that planet.
I
actually feel about that as a concept.
I love that because not only does it make complete sense with what the Alien franchise kind of is, like this whole god complex thing and sort of letting nature run wild, but I love that they added a really interesting mythology to these creatures besides them just being monsters, because I think that makes it a bit more intriguing than just having an alien running around. And on that, did you not find David in this movie to be very similar to Ego from Guardians of the Galaxy? Like, his arc, I found, was very similar.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah. That's pretty solid. Like I said, I think they did a great job of like getting into the pathos of David and like his motivations and his. That's why I definitely would suggest that little bit, The Crossing. Like, if you haven't watched that yet, if you've seen Alien Covenant but you haven't gone, because I think they get into it a little bit more in that too. But I enjoyed that very much, and I love how David he has become the thing that he hates. Like, he's the most, that's the reason he is the way he is because he's too human, and yet he rejects all that, and you know what I mean, and hates his creator, and wants to like supersede his own that accomplishment. And it's a really complex and interesting sci-fi character. I agree.
Yeah, and a lot of that's down to Fassbender's performance, and even the scenes with him and Walter, there's kind of like this hidden sort of sexual undertone to them, like when he's trying to teach him how to play the recorder. And this almost made me laugh out in the theater, but when he says, "I'll do the fingering," it was just...
yeah, I agree. I feel like that Fassbender, like I said, he pulled his, he's the big star now, and he's like, I want to have a scene where I fight myself, and I want to have a scene where I fuck myself. And Fox was like, how about maybe just a kiss? Some tension? Can we tone it in, reel it back a little? I don't know. I'll think about it. Write me up a script and I'll look at it.
No problem. I'll get on that right now. David Walter fan fiction. If there's any fanfic writers out there, you should get on that right now.
Your Screen Junkies fanfic, and get me some David Walter action stat. Also, Ripley clone. I'd like to see Ripley clone Ripley. Can I see that too?
Okay, and nearing the final scene, we see the Xenomorph come and attack the shuttle, and this is the one thing that kind of took me out of it. I'm used to seeing a Xenomorph being like a guy in a puppet suit, and seeing him as CGI, it made it more animalistic, and they could clearly do more with it. I see why they did it, but part of me did miss the whole person in a suit thing.
Yeah, I agree, but you know what they did in this one that they haven't done in a long time? They had the Xenomorph stand straight up. Like, when he ran, he got more four-legged and animalistic, but when he would, like, walk into a room, he would stand up more straight, like a person in a suit. And you haven't seen a lot of that, I mean, since Aliens, I would say. He's basically, you know, this classic Xenomorph has been all four-legged, or like the kind of backwards knees with the more insect kind of look. And I did notice, I was like, oh, okay, I like the way they have him standing. And then now when he chased, I agree, it went more into the four-legged, super quick, crawly, you know, kind of look. Now, did she kill the one in that big action scene that she crushed? Did that one die, or did it survive and get back on the ship?
I don't know.
And David created another one? Because I thought maybe it looked like the girl in the lab might have had the chest burster come out of her. And then there was a new Xenomorph on the ship. So I didn't know if there were two separate Xenomorphs, or if there was just the one that she thought she killed actually survived. But it seemed like that thing got crushed pretty bad.
I reckon it's what you think. It's another Xenomorph got onto the ship somehow, and that leads perfectly into our next segue, which I'm going to call the aliens portion of this movie, where the Xenomorph is just like, it's going fucking nuts. We have a whole new shower scene to add to the Psycho shower scene.
I don't know how I felt about this. It's like you had a lot of death and destruction, and I guess maybe this couple is just like, hey, all these couples, almost everybody died, and yet we made it, we're still together, so let's go have a bang in the shower.
Oh, God. And
it's like everybody else is losing loved ones, and people are dying and having shit come out of them, crazy aliens, and these people are like, nah, I think let's just go have a shower bang.
And of course, Tennessee and the Ripley character, as you called her, they managed to defeat this Xenomorph, but I was predicting this was going to happen because earlier on in the movie, you see that Walter loses his hand, and when you see Walter at the end of this movie, the wrong hand is severed.
Yeah. I thought it was the same hand, but it just didn't look severed properly to me. It looked like it was a clean cut, whereas Walter's had been like melted off from the acid, so I didn't know, but I was with you too. I thought this was a fairly obvious, quote-unquote, twist at the end. I didn't hate it or anything, but I pretty much saw it coming, you know?
I saw it coming, but then again, I love that it happened because right as they're going into hypersleep, they think they've defeated the Xenomorph. It's pretty much David giving the middle finger to everybody because he's on this ship. Yeah. He puts those face hugger embryos in a freezer, and you just know this guy's going to wreak some fucking havoc. And I was very excited when that happened. I'm excited to see the next one now.
Well, and we haven't seen, technically we probably haven't seen the last of the engineers either, because, I mean, in Alien, there's a chest burster that comes out of the space jockey, and that's an engineer, so I think, you know, there's probably at least a ship full of engineers out somewhere, so we got one more movie to really bridge the gap between Alien and between this prequel trilogy and Alien, so I'm interested to see what Ridley's got in store for us. Like I said, I'm trying to get out of the headspace of what I wanted to see, because now we're 2 movies in, and it's not that I don't like what he's doing, I do like it, so, you know, there's no reason to criticize or complain. It's not what I would have done, it's not how I would have, like, thought it would go, but I like his story that he's telling me, and I'm interested to see the next part.
Yeah, Alien Awakening, I prefer it, I think it's called.
Yeah, I'm great. Do it. I hope they turn it around a little quicker. It was I had to wait 5 years. I don't want to wait another 5 years. How about 3 years? I'll give you 3.
Three is a reasonable time. So Brian, I don't know if you've seen Movies and Me Extra before, but it's kind of similar to the Movies and Me show. I want you to imagine I've not seen Alien Covenant. Imagine I'm one of those guys who's like, fuck this, I don't like Prometheus, why am I wasting my time on this? But I'm really going to torrent it later, I'm just not going to tell you that. Imagine I'm one of those guys. What do you tell me to get me to in that theater to see Alien Covenant?
Well, if you're that kind of guy, I bet you really like Eastbound and Down and Your Highness. So guess what, man? Danny McBride is in this movie, and he's a bad motherfucker. And you get to see him fly a ship and be like a leader and shoot a big gun. So for that and the gore effects alone, go check out Alien Covenant in the theater.
And if I'm just a regular guy?
And if you're just a regular guy, I would say that Ridley Scott is a master filmmaker. He makes a beautiful movie. This is not Alien. Don't go in expecting Alien. Like, that's an all-time classic. Quit expecting movies to live up to expectations. Enjoy this movie for what it is. It's a really solid thriller. It's got some really smart ideas and some really incredible, like, gore and violence and alien creature effects. It's great.
Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well. So, just so that people know, when you hear this episode, Brian is actually going to be on Movies and Me, the main show. We're going to be talking about some John Candy vacation movies, talking Summer Rental and The Great Outdoors. You're the first person who ever picked a double bill to do on Movies and Me, so I think that's going to be a very unique one. So, before we get into that, because, I've got to stop this recording and then do that later, is there anything that you want to plug? What's coming up on DVD Bunker?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm not sure when this will go up, but we have episodes up for AVP Requiem, going into Alien. I had things to say about Alien, so if you like what you heard here and you want to hear me defend even crappier movies, hit that one up. We just recorded, I think it'll be out the first weekend of June, but I just recorded our top 10 action movies episode, so that'll be a really fun one, too. And also that same weekend, we'll be in Philly with the TUFF Gang, all trying to get together from across the United States, hanging out at Philly Wizard World, having a good time there. So if you're in the area, find us, check us out.
I'm still gutted that I couldn't make that, but if you...
For you, though.
True. I'm going to try come out and see you guys maybe next year, if I can get a job while I'm in uni. But if you guys like this episode, hit the subscribe button. And I'll see you guys next time.